I'm Sara, and welcome to my crochet channel. Today's video is the Mother's Day shawl. Now this is a beautiful and easy shawl, and you can see by the length it's a roomy shawl. This is the shawl from the back, and you can see how long that the shawl is. Now it measures about 60 inches wide, and it's about 36 inches from the top to the bottom tip. And so you can see this is a big, roomy shawl. But also it's super easy to adjust if you want it to be smaller or even larger. Nothing's better than sitting on the couch with Grandma reading a book and having a big shawl wrapped around your shoulders. Now this is perfect for Mother's Day. It's perfect for a prayer shawl. It's a great shawl for any time. I'm going to keep this one on my office chair because I have to keep it cool for all the equipment. And sometimes I get a little chilly and I can pull it over my shoulders. So you can see it's a great shawl for any gift, for anyone, for any time of the year. The reason this shawl works up so quickly is because we're using a bulky, super bulky number 6 yarn. And the yarn that I used for this shawl is the Yarnspirations Caron Anniversary Cakes. It's a super bulky number 6 and it works up quickly. It's 100% acrylic yarn. Now, if you don't have this particular yarn, you can use any bulky number 6 yarn. And if you don't have a bulky number 6 yarn, just grab 2 of your favorite medium weight number 4 yarns and hold them together and stitch it up that way. That will work as well. The main thing is just measure as you go to make sure you get it as wide as you need. And again, we'll talk about how to adjust the size in just a few minutes. We're going to be stitching today with our end hook. Now, an end hook can be a 9 or a 10 millimeter. Make sure you have the 9 millimeter crochet hook for this project. The 10 millimeter you can use if you don't have a 9, but it makes it a little bit too loose unless you're a tight stitcher. You're going to just need your needle for weaving in ends and then your scissors, and that's it. Now, how much yarn do you need for this project? I used about 12 ounces of my Caron Cake. Now, this one has 35.3 ounces, so I only used 12 ounces of it, which is about 354 to 360 yards, depending on how you measure. All right, so make sure you have enough yarn for the project. And with this having so much on here, I have enough yarn for another project as well. We're going to be starting our shawl down at the bottom point of our shawl, and then we'll be working up, increasing every row. And that's how you size your shawl. You continue to increase until it's the length that you want. It's a good idea to have your tape measure around. That way you can measure as you go. 1 row equals approximately an inch, and so every row you're going to gain an inch of the depth. 2 stitches equals approximately an inch, and so because we're increasing by 2 stitches every row, each row will increase. And again, those are approximate measurements because remember, we all stitch differently, some tighter and some looser. Let's get started. We're going to begin with our slip knot, and we're going to chain 4 chains. This chain 4 counts as a double crochet, chain 1. Yarn over, and we're going to double crochet in that 4th chain. So we'll go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, and go through the second 2. Chain 1, and then double crochet in that same 4th chain. Now we're going to chain 4. And so for row 1, we have our chain 4, which counted as a double crochet, chain 1, then we double crocheted, chain 1, and then double crocheted in that 4th chain. Then we chained 4. We've chained 4. We're going to turn our work and double crochet in that first double crochet. Chain 1, double crochet in the next double crochet. Chain 1, and then we come to this chain 4, and we want to double crochet in the 3rd chain of that chain 4. Chain 1, and then double crochet in that same stitch. And then we'll chain 4. And so now what we have done is we increased by 1 here and here. And so now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 double crochets with our chain 1s in between. All right, let's do row 3. We started with our chain 4 that counts as a double crochet, chain 1, and we'll turn our work. We'll double crochet in the same stitch as that chain 4, so that gives us our first increase. Chain 1, then double crochet in the next double crochet, chain 1, double crochet in the next double crochet, chain 1, double crochet in the next double crochet, get in there, chain 1, and then again that brings us to that chain 4. And so in the 3rd chain we're going to stitch a double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet. And then we'll chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you can see now we've increased at the beginning and end of this row. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 double crochets with our chain 1s in between. And you can see, I think, even at this point, how the pattern is going to work. All right, let's do the 4th row. We chained 4, we're going to turn, we're going to double crochet in the same stitch as our chain 4. And then we'll chain 1 and double crochet in each of the stitches across. Now I'm to that last chain 4. I'm going to skip that first chain and stitch in the 3rd chain and stitch that double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet. There we go, and chain 4. So now we've increased to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 double crochets with our chained 1s in between. All right, let's do row 5. We've chained 4. We're going to turn our work again. We're going to double crochet in that first double crochet, chain 1, and then we'll repeat this, working all the way across this row. Double crochet in the double crochet and chain 1. I completed that across, stitching double crochet in the double crochet with chain 1s in between. And again, we stitched a second double crochet in that last stitch, which is the chain 3 of the chain 4, and turn. And then repeat. double crochet in the double crochet, chain 1, and repeat across our row. Double crochet in the double crochet, chain 1, and repeat. I have completed row 6. We stitched 1 double crochet in the same stitch as our chain 4, then double crochet chain 1 in each of our double crochets across, and then ended with our double crochet chain 1, double crochet in that third chain of the previous row, and then chain 4. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 double crochets with the chain 1s in between. And so this is how the pattern for the shawl works. We continue to repeat what we've been doing, increasing at the beginning and end of each row until it's the length or width that we want. If you would like your shawl to be the length and width of mine measures 60 inches wide and 36 inches long. And like I said, that's a nice big shawl. But if you want to make it smaller, maybe you're making it for a smaller person, use your tape measure and just do as many rows as needed. And the rule of thumb with shawls is that you make your shawl as wide as the person is tall, approximately. And also remember, we're going to add that nice shell trim on the edge. And so if you want your shawl to be the size of mine, you're going to need to repeat row 6 for 30 more rows. So once your shawl is the size that you want, what you're going to do is only chain 1 after your last row and turn. I'm going to be showing you the trim on this swatch. And what you'll do is you'll place 1 single crochet in each of the stitches going across. So I'm single crocheting in the double crochet and then single crochet in the chain 1 space. And you'll work that all the way across the top of your shawl. 1 single crochet in each double crochet, 1 single crochet in each chain 1 space, working all the way across the top of your shawl. Once you've worked a single crochet in each double crochet and each chain 1 space across your shawl, we're going to turn our work and evenly work down the side of our shawl, stitching single crochets. And this can be a little bit challenging when you have a more open type project. All right, so you want to try to go in the sides of those stitches, and there is not a set stitch count on this. You just want to make it even and look pretty. And what I try to do is just go in the sides of those stitches stitching evenly. And sometimes it's a little tight like that one. But you want a nice even look. You don't want your stitches too close together or too far apart. You want it to lay nice and flat. All right, and so from this corner, we're working down to the point of our shawl, working single crochets evenly. Once you've worked that first side, stitching evenly, single crochets, this brings you down here to the point of your shawl. And in this point, you're going to stitch 3 single crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And then you'll turn your work and work up this other side until you reach that first single crochet where we started across. And this gives us a nice even row all the way around our shawl so we can add our pretty trim. By adding a row of single crochet all the way around, it also helps your shawl hold its shape. There we go. And then once you've worked evenly up that second side of your shawl, you're going to join to that first single crochet and chain 1. And you'll have a nice even row of single crochets all the way around your shawl. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to place a single crochet in each of the single crochets, working all the way across the top of your shawl, because we don't want any shell stitches on the top edge, and we also want a nice smooth edge to the top of our shawl. So we're just going to work one single crochet in each of the single crochets, working all the way across the top edge of our shawl. Once you have completed one single crochet in each of your single crochets across the top of your shawl, you're going to have a nice edge that's going to help your shawl hold its shape and also fit nicely around your neck. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to stitch our fun shell stitches. So we'll single crochet in that first single crochet. We're going to chain 1. We'll skip the next single crochet and stitch 3 double crochets in the next stitch. 1, 2, and 3. We'll chain 1. We'll skip the next single crochet and single crochet in the next and chain 1. And this is the way that our shell stitches will work around the edge. So we single crocheted, chain 1. We're going to skip the next and stitch 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Chain 1, skip 1, single crochet in the next, and chain 1. And see how that looks? All right, now skip 1 and 3 double crochets in the next. 1, 2, and 3. Chain 1, skip 1, single crochet in the next, and chain 1. Now you'll have a lot more shell stitches working down the side of your shawl, but when you get to the corner, you're not going to add any extra stitches. You're just going to keep going with what we've been doing. So we chained 1, skip 1, and 3 double crochets in the next. 1, there we go, 2, and 3. Now on this one, I happen to be right in the bottom of the point. You may not be, it doesn't matter. You might be on a chain, you might be on a single crochet. It doesn't matter. You just work down the side and back up the other side. So chain 1, skip 1, and single crochet in the next. Chain 1, skip 1, and shell stitch or 3 double crochets in the next. 1, 2, and 3. Chain 1, skip 1, single crochet in the next. All right, and that's the way that that shell stitch will work. It's a little bit more open than our regular shell stitches because we have those chain 1s in between, and I think it makes this particular shawl lay and drape much better. All right, and so you'll continue to work up the side of your shawl until you reach the top. Now, we did not have a set number of stitches. when we stitched our evenly stitched single crochets. And so it may not work out evenly or perfectly when you get back to the top. One, two, three of our last shell stitch, chain one. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3 stitches. I've chained one. If I skip one, I'll go right in that single crochet there. But what I'll do is I'll skip 2 and go ahead and put my single crochet in the corner. And then we'll tie off. All right, now, so what you're going to need to do when you get to the end, you may need to skip 1 or 2 stitches in order for it to fit nicely. You may end on a shell, you may end on a single crochet. It doesn't matter, just make sure that it flows nicely around and that you can join and tie off. And then you'll tie off your yarn and weave that to the back. Let me grab that loop. There we go. And you'll pull that to the back side of your shawl. And if you did this with this particular type of yarn, the only weave-ins you'll have is your beginning tail and your ending tail. And you'll just put that on your needle and weave that in, going through stitches and fibers. And one thing to remember when working with a bigger needle, it may be a little more difficult and you may have to kind of wiggle it in there a little bit. But you want to securely weave that in. And that's how easy it is to make our Mother's Day or any day shawl. I think you're really going to enjoy this. It's a great take-along project and it works up super fast and is super pretty. You might even make one for yourself.